Hi, I'm Mary James with Passive House Accelerator. I live in a WUI area. WUI stands for Wildland Urban Interface, basically any areas where wildland spaces and developed areas overlap. As we all know, fires are happening much more frequently and they're hotter and stronger. It's a reality that we need to deal with. And it can seem a bit overwhelming to harden your home for fire prevention. But over time, you can do it little by little. Today, we're going to talk about the 10 steps to minimizing fire risk. The background to understand how to make your home as fire safe as possible is to understand that embers are the biggest threat. 90% of houses catch on fire due to contacts with embers. So it's really important to prevent pathways where embers can collect or enter into your house and start a fire. Because once your house starts on fire, your house becomes a torch that will light other homes in your area on fire. Embers can travel typically 30 to 100 feet, but they've also been known to travel for miles. So it's really critical to think about preventing embers from landing or entering into your structure. So step number 1, improving the immediate zone 5 feet around your house. The most critical area is the first 5 feet closest to your house, making that completely non-combustible because you don't want embers to land on anything that's combustible and then start your house on fire. So that means getting rid of all plants in that 5-foot zone and replacing that with non-combustible materials such as pavers or gravel. Basically, you don't want any plants near your house. And that includes furniture, because a lot of people like to have chairs, benches outside their home, close to their home. Having combustible furniture right by your house isn't a great idea. You need to replace it with metal furniture. Decks and fences are another pathway that fire can reach your house. If they catch on fire, it can easily lead to your house catching on fire, and we'll get into that more later. Step number 2, the intermediate zone, which is 5 feet to 30 feet from the furthest exterior point of the home. It's all about landscaping and how you create landscaping and maintain your landscaping in that area. Landscaping needs to be designed to create breaks that can help influence and decrease fire behavior. So clear vegetation from any sort of ignition combustion sources, such as propane tanks, if you have an outdoor grill. You want to create fuel breaks with driveways, walkways, paths, patios, and decks. All lawns and native grasses need to be mowed to a height of 4 inches at most. You want to remove ladder fuels, which are vegetation under trees, so a surface fire cannot reach the crowns. Trees and shrubs in this zone should be limited to small clusters of a few each to break up the continuity of the vegetation across the landscape. And any shrubs or bushes should be fire-resistant plants. Step number 3 is the extended zone, 30 to 100 feet out from your house. The goal here is not to eliminate fire, but to interrupt the fire's path and keep flames small and on the ground. Dispose of heavy accumulations of ground litter debris. Remove dead plant and tree material. Remove small conifers growing between mature trees. Trees 30 to 60 feet from the home should have at least 12 feet between the canopy tops because you want to prevent the fire leaping from canopy to canopy. Trees 60 to 100 feet from the home should have at least 6 feet between the canopy tops. The exact crown spacing will be dependent on the tree species, and you should contact your local fire department for more specific information. Step number 4, vents. Now we get into what you can do to your structure. And the first and easiest step to take is replacing your vents. Conventional vents can allow embers entry into your home. Ideally, you want to replace them with vents that have metal screen and then a honeycomb on the inside that's coated in an intumescent paint, which when it's exposed to heat, it expands and forms like a shield to block embers from entering your house. Remember to think about all the vents in your house. Remember ridge and eave vents, but in addition also vents for your mechanical system and also your dryer vents. Step number 5, roofs, eaves, and gutters. First of all, get your roof inspected because that's an easy entry pathway for embers. Again, most importantly, your roof should be made of Class A fire-rated materials such as composite shingles, clay tiles, concrete tiles, or metal roofing. And of course, if you are going to replace your roof, that's an excellent time to think about air sealing your roof deck and potentially adding more insulation to get your house closer to a EnerFit or passive house. Another really critical area are under your eaves, because here embers can swirl around in fires and then collect under your eaves and start a fire that way. So you want to make sure that you're not giving embers a space to collect. And you can do this by getting your eaves boxed in using ideally fire-resistant materials such as fiber cement board. And finally, gutters. It's recommended to add a gutter guard product so that you reduce the leaves and litter that gets trapped in your gutters, because leaf litter provides a perfect bed for an ember to spark a fire. Get your roof cleaned and your gutters cleaned out periodically to remove that leaf litter as much as possible.
Step number 6, windows, doors, and air tightness.
And here again, air tightness, which is really an important step in creating a passive house, is also really important for fire resistance, because any cracks or gaps in your exterior shell become entry points for embers. So let's start with windows. Radiant heat from flames can crack windows. So it's really best to have tempered glass, dual or triple pane windows so that you have more protection from the heat. And if an outside pane cracks, it doesn't necessarily mean that the fire penetrates into the house. It's really ideal to get airtight windows. So any passive house quality windows will fit the bill. And also airtight installation so that you minimize the chances of embers and the opportunity for embers to enter into your house around the windows. And the same can be said for the doors. You want to make sure that you have airtight installation of your doors. Airtight installations can also help prevent smoke intrusion, but we'll talk more about that later. Step number 7, siding. Unfortunately, it's a major step, but if you have wood siding, that's something to think about in your long-term plan of creating a fire-resistant structure. If you are replacing your siding, then you need to use fire-resistant siding such as brick, fiber cement, plaster, or stucco. When you're replacing your siding, of course, this is an excellent opportunity to air seal from the outside using membranes or liquid applied air barrier. And you can also consider at this time adding some sort of exterior insulation, preferably non-combustible, such as mineral wool. This will really be a huge step in creating a more comfortable house at the same time as you're increasing your fire resistance. Step number 8.
Decks and fencing.
As I mentioned, decks and fencing are usually within your 5-foot zone of your house. So it's really critical to create decks and fencing that are non-combustible and won't lead a fire right up to your house. For the decks, here's the options that you could consider: hardwood, ceramic tiles, or a metal grating. If you're going to be using hardwoods, here are some strategies you can think about to increase the fire resistance of your deck. Can space the boards further apart, because this allows any leaf litter and debris to drop through more easily so that it doesn't accumulate and create a perfect little kindling bed for a fire to start. Also, don't forget the top of the joists and all beams should be covered in metal tape or metal flashing. And similarly for the fencing, you can use metal posts, you can use fiber cement board. Just make sure that anything that comes up to your house within that 5-foot range is non-combustible. Step number 9, garages and adjacent structures. Don't forget about them. Doors and windows on adjacent structures need to be airtight. Garage doors are a particular problem. There's often gaps at the bottom of the garage doors. You want to seal that with like a metal kick plate, and you want to air seal all around the garage door to make sure no embers can enter there. Look at your garage and think about, are there any places where embers can collect, where they can lodge against the garage and start a fire there? Step 10, ventilation and indoor air quality. Once you've tightened up your home, a mechanical ventilation system is a must, and preferably one with heat recovery or energy recovery. These are very common in passive houses, but not as familiar to other people who don't have passive houses. But if you live in an area that's prone to fire, as in much of the American West, it's becoming increasingly important to have mechanical ventilation. As smoke from fires, whether they're 300 miles away or 30 miles away, becomes a more frequent problem, we want to be able to filter the air that's coming into your house so that you can be in your home and breathing comfortably. On the accelerator, we have often talked about how do you provide extra filtration for smoke events. There are DIY solutions you can do. We have added an extra box filter that comes between the outside of the house and the HRV, along with a fan to help keep the air moving, because the extra HEPA filter produces more of a restriction on the airflow. And we turn this on whenever there's a smoke event. It really helps us maintain a healthy indoor environment during smoke events, which unfortunately are happening more frequently. To the extent that you can improve the air tightness of your home, that really helps with blocking smoke infiltration from anywhere, any corner of your house. And then the air that's coming into your house is filtered. As you can tell, there's a lot of overlap between creating a fire-hardened house and creating a passive house. Air tightness, mechanical ventilation, really good windows and doors, all of those are going to help both aspects of improving the comfort, safety, and efficiency of your house.